I'm going straight to you. It's on you. You're live, Justin.
All right.
You're live. So everybody thought it was my not so hostile takeover today, but we all know I had to call in reinforcements. So it's all you, Justin. It's all you. So what we really wanted to talk about today was our favorite cooking method, like period, of all time.
Yeah. So I know Tom has shown you guys a lot and what he's learned through his years of education and everything, but one of the things he hasn't touched on that we actually use a lot here is the sous vide method. So what sous vide is it directly translates from French into under pressure. So all it is you take whatever meat or whatever you're cooking and put it, vacuum seal it in a bag, and then put it in a controlled water environment. So if you look right here, you'll see our sous vide. All right. So this is actually the sous vide, right? It's in a water bath, and we'll show you this all in a few minutes. But what it does is it keeps the water at a certain temperature and circulates it around the food that's in a vacuum sealed bag.
You can kind of hear it too moving. Let me see if I can get
you'll be able to see it. Take the cover off.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what that does is it cooks the food throughout completely at this temperature. So one of the some of the benefits of the sous vide is that you can't overcook something. Whatever you set the temperature to is what it cooks at, right? And if you're in this house when something comes up at any minute, any given day, if you're supposed to sous vide something for like an hour, all of a sudden you realize it's been an hour, 30 minutes, guess what? You didn't overcook it. It's still fine.
Which is fantastic, right? So like when we talk about like busy lifestyles and things like that, and a lot of people use slow cookers or the Instapot, yeah, which we actually don't do that often because this is actually more convenient for us.
And it's not a quick process, so generally everything takes at least an hour. The only thing that's generally less than an hour is fresh hamburgers. You can sous vide hamburgers. That takes about 45 minutes, but everything takes at least an hour.
And a lot of people are probably familiar with sous vide because the very, very famous sous vide eggs at Starbucks, of all places. Really? So yeah, Starbucks does a lot of sous vide. And we've noticed too now that a lot of restaurants are using sous vide.
Restaurants have used sous vide for years, whether they admitted it or not, but it's now available to the everyday home cook. Generally, you can find them online for about $70, $80 at its cheapest. I don't know anything about those brands. I've only used the Innova. I like the Innova.
And we actually have two.
We have two. Actually, we have one because I've used it so much that I actually burn out the first one.
How often would you say we use it a week?
A minimum of 3. There was times I was using it 5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right now, especially during the pandemic and now working remotely from home, it's a lot easier because I can put it in at 4 o'clock. I can put some chicken breasts in the sous vide at 4 o'clock, and then 2 hours later, I can pull them out and finish them up real quick, and then we could go for dinner.
And I can attest that nothing has cooked better than this. I mean, hands down. So it's pretty fantastic. If you have questions about the sous vide, we'd love to hear them. But Justin's going to actually show you the process, and we obviously have a couple extra tools for it because we use it so often.
Right.
We're going to show different ways you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, I do have an actual container that was built for this sous vide, right? But you can use, before I got that, I used just this regular pot, all right? And additionally, I'm going to show you, I do use a vacuum sealer because I have one and we use it so often. But if you want to try out a sous vide and see what it does, instead of going out and getting a vacuum sealer too, I'll show you how to do what's called the immersion method, which is all you need is a Ziploc bag. All right, but first, so today we're going to do steaks. Generally, I like to do New York strips or ribeyes. Just because of the thickness and the fat content and everything, they cook real well. Slim pickings this morning at Harris Teeter, so we are with porterhouses today. They were on sale, so that's a benefit. So generally, all I do before, when I start is I just season them, and unlike sometimes I will use Tom's 4 seasonings, but generally today I'm just going to use a little bit of salt and pepper on it. I'm going to use black pepper today. You can also use white pepper, which is actually also I believe Tom has told me is a French method. Left hand to flip. All right. Also with your steaks, make sure you take them out of the fridge at least 30 minutes prior to cooking them. You want them to come up closer to room temperature than to be cold whenever you cook them.
I'm the shiz today, and I'm not used to it. So
there we go. Just salt and pepper. Again, you can use Tom's 4 and use garlic powder and onion powder as well. I've done that before. Also, I'm just going to go basic today, but you can also put rosemary and thyme in there, and maybe a couple pats of butter. Just put it all in there, vacuum seal it all together, so it cooks all together, so you get those flavors together. So yeah, so normally again I vacuum seal this, and actually this is the first time I'm trying the immersion method. So we're going to see how it goes. Probably should have pre-done this.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Winging it. We're really good at winging it.
Winging it as always.
Wash your hands.
Do a little rinse just for this one. All right. So you kind of close up the bag most of the way, kind of like you're taking air out of any bag. All right. You take a full thing of water. All right. Normally, like if this is your pot that you're using the sous vide in, right? You just put it in there. Push all the water down. I only have this corner open.
So you're pushing the air out and the water down.
Yep. The water automatically pushes the air out. Seal it up, and you have a little vacuum seal on it.
That's cool.
All right.
Wait. Yeah. So why bother?
Why bother with that?
We also.
I have no good answer for that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
All right. So now we're going to put it in the sous vide.
But you can sous vide back in that pot. Sorry, having a local favorite here.
Little Tartar's Truth Orange Crush.
Yes.
Beverage. That's how we cook in this house. All right.
But you can use this. You don't need this container to sous vide because you can take this
right
and put it
yep.
on that pot.
If you can see around the back side of this, it has a adjustable screw on it where you can just undo it, slide it out,
put it on any pot that it'll fit, depth wise. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Justin's also producing now while we're here.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull out one that I've been cooking. Generally for steaks, I do it at least an hour, closer to 2 hours. This one's been in almost 2 hours. All right, I'm going to put this one in. Now, if you don't vacuum seal, if you just put it in a bag and leave the air in, the bag is going to float. All right, so what you want it to do is get all the air out so the bag just sits in place. You can use any kind of clips. I just use cheap. I use clothespins that we had in the house. And as you can see, it sits in there just fine. You always got to make sure that the water completely covers whatever you're using. I do have room in here for more water if I needed to. But since I'm only cooking a couple things, I just left it where it was because I could fit it in there. As you can, I don't know if you can see now with the cover off, you can kind of see the water moving. It circulates around to get it a nice even complete. If you're using a pot, you don't have this fancy rack, you're using just a regular pot, you're going to want to clip that bag to the side as well, which is what we did for the first 3 months of having a sous vide. All right, close that back up. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like coming out. All right, this is what it looks like coming out. This again is just salt and pepper on here. You can see it's still vacuum sealed. You can see all the juices that have cooked and stayed in it. One of the other benefits about a sous vide is that you don't lose size. So normally when you cook on a grill or in the oven or on the stovetop, especially with red meat, with steaks and with burgers, things tend to get smaller as they cook. You don't have that with sous vide, right? They get smaller as they cook because it dries out and the moisture comes out and it gets smaller. With a sous vide, you get the original size. So when you're saying, "Wow, that burger looked a lot bigger when I made it," it's because it was. But when you cooked it on the grill, it got smaller. All right, so just cutting this open.
Taking that over there.
Well, I'm gonna take it out.
You're coming over here.
All right. So now you can see. So this is actually technically fully cooked. You can eat it just like this, but it may not be the most visually thing to you. One of the benefits of sous vide is everything's cooked now. You just kind of want to finish it, right? And finish it. You can finish it on the grill, in a pan, broil it, all those kind of things. But as you can see, it is completely cooked right now.
And what are you finishing it on?
So today I'm going to be finishing it on a cast iron pan on the stove top.
Okay, but first.
So I'm going to put it here, and I like to give it a little pat dry.
So these are both fully cooked,
So
correct?
yes, these were both went at the same time. I took this one out about 5 minutes before we started the show because I like my meat to always set as much as possible. So because we're going to go to the cast iron pan here, I wanted to set before I cook it, and then you always want it to set after. I don't know if the step is necessary to let it set before the cast iron pan. That's just something I like to do.
Yeah, but it works,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
and cast iron pan's not a requirement, right? So again, let's talk about, you mentioned grilling a regular pan.
Yep.
I mean, you can do this
broil it.
So many different ways.
And you can use any different kind of meat with this. Chicken, we do chicken. We've done fish. I've done rack of lamb, obviously steaks.
Tom has a question.
Absolutely.
Tom's watching us. Jeez, critique. No pressure. Tom said, how do you know it's medium or to preferred temp? Is it just a time?
So it's not about time, it's about your temperature. So the temperature on the sous vide I set was 133. That's a low end medium rare. The reason I chose that temperature today is because normally I use New York strips or ribeyes that are about an inch and a half thick. They're really thick steaks. So I can go at a higher medium rare temperature like 137, 138. Because these are thinner steaks, they're only about a half inch thick. I went at a lower temperature, a 133 today. If you want like a rare steak, you're going to go around the 125, 127. And then obviously, over 140, 145 for a medium, and then just keep going higher. Honestly, online, even though I've cooked chicken breast 100 times in the sous vide, every time I go to sous vide, I look it up online again for a reminder of what temperature I want it to be.
Safe.
Just to be safe. And honestly, chicken is one of the hardest things you can cook. And I could have cooked chicken today, but didn't go with the rest of our menu. So, but chicken is the hardest thing to cook because it goes from raw or undercooked to overcooked real quick. And that's why I love the sous vide, because ever since I've started using the sous vide, I have never overcooked or undercooked chicken. It is very, very succulent, that the chicken that comes out.
Succulent.
Well, I'm not allowed to use the
moist word. I'll say it. So our friend Carson Allen is watching out of Washington State. We love her, and they sous vide all the time. I did know that because I have seen that on your Facebook, and they use it for pork loin chops, and I would agree with that. We have really liked that as well. So Justin's getting ready to finish off this steak real quick for you guys, and then we're gonna move on to the last bit. But he is prepping up his cast iron pan. Y'all know we had to clean this kitchen up, right, in order to show this for you guys. So you're getting the behind the scenes of the kitchen here, our mid-century modern interesting kitchen. So what you put, I noticed you put olive oil in there.
Yeah, I like olive oil and butter both in the cast iron. Olive oil tends to just splatter. The mixture of the two together, I get less splatter, even though I'm going to get
less splatter.
Yeah,
let's be real.
Not no splatter, less.
There's a lot of splatter that happens. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I also use a lot of butter when cooking steaks. Normally, I've also put an entire stick of butter in here before, and along with some rosemary and thyme, and then just baked it. But I'm not going to do that today because it's just a little more.
And hopefully our friends can hear us because we've got because it is cast iron and it is going to smoke, we've got the exhaust fan going.
Yeah, I have it on low as possible.
So, all right.
Let us know if you can't hear us. I can always talk louder. All right, here we go. Hopefully get that nice sizzle. Yeah, I hear that. All right, normally on a thicker steak, I would do about a minute aside. You need it, because these are so thin, I preheated this pan on low and just slowly increased it up. So you want to get it as hot as possible. The same thing if you use a grill outside. You want the temperature to be hot. You want those grates to be really, really hot. Because all you're doing is just searing the outside. So on this steak, I'm going to go with about 30 to 45 seconds because it is thinner. I'm just going to make sure, verify, I look at the color before I flip it. So honestly, it's just a quick finish on both sides. If I was using a lot of butter and seasoning in there, I would take a spoon and go ahead and baste it as I cook the side and flip and do the same thing again. But I'm not doing that today.
Tom said mixing the oil with the butter also helps raise the smoke temp so you don't burn as quick. He also says, this guy is a pro, looks perfect. Man, you're getting some hot top.
Well, look at that.
We know. We can't build him up that much, Tom, although I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
Dang.
30 seconds. All you're doing is crusting the outside, right? Because the meat is cooked. That's all you have to worry about is crusting the outside.
All right. Splatter, y'all.
Yeah,
Oranges.
there's always splatter.
I guess you could get a splatter shield. Why bother?
I cook, I always make a mess.
Yep. He is a messy cook. He is a messy cook. Now, you mentioned that you don't have the butter and stuff that you often do right now, and that's because we're going to add another little piece to this here in a minute. The great thing is you're about to take this off and press this right back onto the same cutting board.
Right, because
it's cooked.
Yeah, because this was cooked when I put it on there.
Yeah, so we're not using any raw meat.
Now look, you can see the difference between when it just came out of sous vide and now that I finished it.
Sue Weigel asked, so it cooks again, will that change it from medium to well done?
Not at all. Because it's only 30 seconds a minute, you're only getting that outside crust. And then after when we finish, we'll go ahead and cut into this and show you what it looks like inside. Yep.
So we're gonna turn that exhaust fan off here. Oh, and Tom got you too. Yep, nope, just a quick sear. Perfect. All right. So that looks awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay, now it's my turn.
Now
I
Erin's
do
turn.
have a little bit.
Erin on the camera.
I have a little bit of a part in this. Not much, not much. So I from the South, and we like our butter in the South. For those who don't know, it's not good for me. I shouldn't be having a lot of butter. But when I do, I want to have good butter. So it's really, really important to me. And I think my cameraman's getting a little excited there. So I like compound butter. And so compound butter is basically when you take butter and you add to it, right? Add flavors, add different seasonings to it. You can make savory compound butter, which is what we're going to make right now. But also, too, another favorite of mine is a sweet compound butter. So if you have like biscuits or something like that, I've put apricot pieces into butter with a little brown sugar before. I have done a lot of different butters in my time, which is why that's how you get these cheeks right here.
I feel like there's a local place that really specializes in that compound butter for their biscuits. That's sweet.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
There's a couple. It's not local, but there are a couple. There's a chain restaurant that does it.
Yeah.
But,
Carson Allen in full cap said, "Yeah, we do." I'm assuming that's about that butter.
Yeah, because Carson is also from Florida.
Yeah.
And so as Florida girls, we like our butter. And Carson has cheeks too. That's what you get. You guys want the big cheeks. You got to get the butter. So
compound butter is a sore subject in this house.
Yes.
Just purely because one day pre-pandemic, I cooked beautiful steaks and everybody complimented the compound butter.
Hey, the compound butter was good. The compound butter would have been nothing without your steak. Nothing. So Justin's having his orange crush there, and I'm having my coffee. So I still have to work today again. All right. So we're going to make this compound butter. It is so easy. You guys have no idea. So basically what we're going to do is this is about half a cup of unsalted butter. Unsalted butter is really important, guys, because you don't want to take away from the flavors too much on this, for sure. In this case, I've got, just about, and I've cut this in half. So generally I use about a tablespoon of rosemary. Rosemary is really hard to find today, and we usually have it out front, but of course it's freezing cold, so it's all dead. About a tablespoon of thyme, and then generally they say about 5 cloves of garlic. I will tell you, we do more than 5 cloves. If it says 5 cloves in this house, we do 10. That's not even a lie. So we did that. I'm gonna, I only use the stems on these generally. So we just kind of pick the flowers off, but you really want to mince it really well because you don't want too big of flavors, and you want to make sure it gets mixed in to everything all together. So your butter obviously needs to be softened here. So it's really easy. I mean, guys, this takes a bowl, a spatula, or as they used to call it in my home ec class, a rubber scraper is what I use. And you just start softening the butter. This is so easy. You do need to make this in advance, okay? So this generally takes about 2 hours to really kind of sit in there and solidify all together, all the flavors in there. So I'm literally just going to dump everything in. Now I like to mix between each flavor or spice or sweet, depending on what I'm adding in there. I like to give it a quick turn between each one. Throw this in. So, but I am really into compound butter. So I don't make it that much though, because as Justin said, it's a little bit of a sore spot in our household now, putting in all this yummy garlic. Now, a lot of people like to mince it more finely. We like garlic so much, and we like the bite of the garlic. It's probably, I like that little spice in my savory compound butter. I'm going to put a smidge of salt in here. Or, I'm a mean. So, and then you're just going to mix it all up again. I like to make sure, I want it, because I'm going to have to roll this up, and you'll see in a second how we do that. Again, super easy. Don't make this hard. You can see it's so soft now that rolling it up is going to be super, super easy. Let me get my scissors here. All right, so I roll it up into parchment paper, but I've also been known, if I don't have parchment paper on hand, to roll it up in some saran wrap, plastic wrap. So you don't have to have parchment paper in there. Parchment paper, you need somebody else's hand on it, right? Or a cup or something. And then really you just want to take this, get it into the middle, and we're going to roll it up, and we're going to turn it into a stinking butter log, for lack of a better term. Ooh, hold that for a second.
Yep. Tom asked, salted butter or not salted butter?
Unsalted butter. 1 cup of unsalted butter.
But sorry, Carson and Sue Weigel commented for him. I guess Tom's not paying that close of attention to your instructions.
Hey, that's okay though. Tom's working. That's why we did the hostile takeover. He's working in the office I locked him into. So it's fine. If you didn't see our video about my...
Did you leave him food or?
I'm not an animal. So we left him in there to work. He's working on his database. He's calling all his past clients, right? He's working on his Mets, not Mets.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is silly easy. Don't have to make it complicated. We're just going to roll it together. And you just kind of pull it. Is that showing? Sorry. I just kind of pull it together so that it makes this kind of long. Now, when you make it with the 1 cup, right? So just smush it in. When you make it with the 1 cup, it's going to be a longer butter log, right? So just roll it up. If you've got, it doesn't matter if you're using parchment paper or saran wrap, just twist the ends, and that's it. You put it in the fridge for about 2 hours. We actually already have one done. Voila! Let's stick that one in here, guys. I'm gonna have butter, compound butter for days now. So this is so when it comes out.
Tom said let me out. The answer is no.
No, you're not getting out. Let me finish the show. Then you can get out. Okay, so that's the compound butter at the end there. And so what I really like is now I'm gonna cut it off, and I'm gonna cut the ugly end off there, but don't worry, I'll come back and eat it later. I don't care. Right? But then we're just gonna slice it and get it ready for Justin's steak. And it's gonna go right on top of Justin's steak. And we're gonna serve it up here. I'm only gonna put 2 pats on it because we don't want to be ridiculous. Look, we're gonna tom it for you. There you go. So let me get my butter out of the way. So that's it, guys.
So we are gonna cut it open so you can see.
All right, like I said, this is a thinner steak. All right, but even with the thinner steak, you can see.
Bring it up closer. Hold on, I got you. There you go. So that's that medium rare that Justin was talking about.
Yep. It's beautiful.
That's it, guys.
Let the butter melt over it, and be good to go.
So we're gonna we're done now because I'm hungry.
Yep.
And you got to cook that other steak.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, that is it. You want to hold this for a sec?
Mm-hmm.
Put it on me? No. What are we doing? Are we doing it together?
Yes.
It's so hard for us to coordinate this. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for putting up with our takeover of Cooking with Your Agent. Don't worry. Tom will be back 2 weeks. We'll let him out of the office.
All right. Keep an eye out for the HRV Homes VIP page. Another big VIP giveaway coming up right before the summer. We'll start teasing what it could possibly be coming in March. So
It's a big one.
We'll open it up in April, and it's going to be a big one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Let me
guys.
go shut it down. It's still your face, Stephanie.
I know.
Keep looking.
Let me go back to the